Hey guys. Hello, hello. Welcome. Just waiting for my numbers to show me that I'm not alone in the room. I see people saying hi, but it still says there's no one in here. So, oh, there we go. Now I have a number. Okay. Didn't think it was just my imagination. Can someone let me know that they can hear me, please? If someone could just say whether or not you can hear me. Hey, Lilia. Am I coming in with volume? Coming in great. Oh, good. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hear you just fine. Very good. Hey, Tony. Hey, Barb. Hi, Tara. Thanks for getting on, guys. Appreciate everybody. Can hear me fine. Good. I am not terrible with technical things, but you never know. Things can always go wrong at the last minute. You never know. So, hey, hey, Val. Thanks for hopping on tonight, guys. It is so cold in South Dakota. It is so cold. I cannot, my dogs, when I like let out, say, let's go potty, they look at me like, woman, are you crazy? I ain't going out there. So I got to like go, you're going, but they out there and then they run right back as quickly as possible. So cold. Missing warm weather. All of you freezing in North Dakota too. Yes. So cold. Got my little fire going behind me to keep me warm right now. I do spend part of my time in Montana. I am in South Dakota right now. I'm actually not going to be back in Montana for a while. I do spend part of my time there. I love Montana. I kind of consider myself a little bit of a gypsy. I kind of float around a little bit, but I am in South Dakota right now. So, okay, guys. So I'm going to get going here. I just like to give a couple minutes to warm up. There is, it's 30 below in Nebraska. Ooh, yikes. Why do us Northerners do this? I think back to when my forefathers came here from Germany and Norway. It's like, really? Could you have picked a little further south, please? Okay, so guys, I have so much to talk about tonight. I have had such an amazing last few days, as you guys know. I've had a lot happen. Things happened really quick. All of a sudden, I got the thumbs up that I could go. I headed there quickly. I live, when I'm in Rapid City, I'm about an hour and a half away. I got in my car and headed there as quickly as I could. I was anxious to get there and just check everything out. I think, like many of you, I have wondered about the FLDS compound for a very long time. It's been this mysterious place in our region no one was allowed to go to. When I was a legislator, there was a lot of legislation about it because there was concerns that there were not birth certificates being put on the child. There was concerns about welfare fraud in the state. So it was actually something that many years ago, I was a part of some legislation regarding them because the state was always trying to figure out kind of what to do with them and how to handle them and all of the things that they were doing illegally and just the questioning of what all was going on. So anyway, I want to start though with the very background on this. I'm going to do this a little different tonight than I usually do. I've kind of made some slides that I hope are helpful because there is so much information here. I'm hoping that this helps you guys to have a sense of sort of some of what I saw. I am going to be showing video. I am going to be showing pictures. I am going to get into some of it tonight. There's so much. There's no way I could do it all in one night, but we're going to get into it tonight. I have some things that I think you guys are really going to be interested in, things that have never been seen before. But how did this all happen? I'm going to start with the questions that most people asked me, which people said, how did you get in there? How did this happen? What was the correlation? Well, I have a really weird answer, almost as weird as this whole story is, which is that it actually started right here because of this. Do any of you watch Sister Wives on TLC? I have been a Sister Wives watcher for many, many years. I am a reality TV nut. I love 90 Day Fiance. I watch all of the reality TV shows. My kids think I'm crazy. So I was a watcher of the Brown family on TLC. And so I watched them for many years. And then I became aware of the fact that they had some family that were living in the area. And that family is the Aldridges, who were on a TV show called Seeking Sister Wife. They were on 2 seasons of it a couple seasons ago. They are related to the Browns through marriage, but also in a variety of ways. What I have come to find out about fundamentalist Mormons is they're all kind of related eventually. And so if you recognize the Aldridges from a couple seasons ago, I reached out to them and got to know them because of the fact that they were connected to the Browns. I just wanted to meet them. I was just sort of a fangirl that wanted to know these people, as well as the fact that I've just always kind of scratched my head at the lifestyle and wondered why women choose to do this. And so I had lots of questions for them. I got to know them, and of course they knew about my work for looking for Serenity Denard, and they actually have a daughter named Serenity. One of Sharice's daughters is named Serenity, very sweet, adorable little spunky redhead, and they were aware of my work on that. And so I had mentioned to them that I had questions about the compound, and they shared with me lately that they knew the people that had the compound, that were staying on the compound and taking care of the compound, that had actually purchased or had come to have it through a lawsuit. Of course, I said, can you make an introduction, please? And they said yes. Now, the other thing I want you guys to keep in mind on this is that not all Mormons are the same. So interestingly enough, the Aldridges, as well as the Browns, are a part of a group that are called the AUB. I don't know that they consider themselves still members of the AUB, but they are a sect of Mormonism that practices polygamy. They are not in any way affiliated with the Jeffs and with the FLDS. So what I have come to find out is there's the FLDS, which is the sect that we're talking about in Pringle, and then there's fundamentalist Mormons. They are 2 different groups. The fundamentalist Mormons do not like at all the FLDS because of what has happened with the abuse, Warren Jeffs, and all of that. In essence, they consider them the bad apple of Mormonism, and they hate that their reputation becomes tainted. Now, whether or not you think polygamy is okay, not okay, I mean, I think we could all debate that. I have my own feelings about it. I'm sure you all do as well. But they do very much say, hey, we're not like them. And so when I told them that I would like to meet the people that have the compound, they said, maybe you can do some good to expose the disgusting, awful things that have gone on there. And so they are polygamists that are completely and totally wanting exposure to the ugliness that happened on the compound. So just sort of interesting, right? So they're all connected. They all know each other, and they want something done. And so I'm very appreciative to them for making that initial connection. So the next question I got asked is, I was asked, were you there alone when you went? I am going to be getting into some video, guys, but I just want to hit right away some of the common questions that I got from people. Was I alone? I actually was not alone. I was with people, just a couple people that are former members of Warren Jeff's sect. What has happened is there's been a lawsuit, and through that lawsuit, these members, some of these former members were awarded this property as part of the judgment, and they are living there. There are about, I think, maybe 10 of them that are living there that were formerly associated with Warren Jeffs and were FLDS. They are victims of him. They have had horrible abuse at his hands. Their family members did. And so they are living there and trying to shed the ugliness that happened there, as well as trying to decide what they're going to do with this property. Because you guys, this is a city. I mean, this is a town. This is not a few buildings. This is a town. And you're going to see that as you look through some of my pictures tonight, that this is basically an independent town that had everything it needed to sustain itself for thousands of people. And so there's 10 of them about living in this town, in essence, this ghost town, trying to make sense of what they're going to do. So they were with me, but thank you to so many of you. I had so many of you reach out to me and say, I was worried about you. Are you okay? I hope you're not alone. Thank you guys for caring about me. That meant a lot to me that people said, I hope you're okay. I was okay, but I wasn't okay is the best answer. I was safe because I trust them. I wasn't okay because my guts were getting ripped out throughout the day, hearing and seeing what I was seeing. I came home the night I did my video where I just said, I am just so upset. I just came home. It had been a very, very long day with lots of ugly things that I had seen all day long. I was very, very emotional. Yesterday, I ate an entire box of macaroni and cheese, 2 ice cream sandwiches, and every leftover I have in my refrigerator. So that can tell you something. So I really needed like a day to really process through things, and ice cream sandwiches evidently help with that. But that's where I was at yesterday. So, you know, it was just a lot, but I was safe with them. People ask me, why did they leave so much stuff behind? And the best answer I can give from what I saw is that they were forced out in a very quick kind of way. In essence, there was there were a few of them that were still living there of the original group. They were kind of a skeleton crew that was keeping the place up. And all of a sudden, there's this lawsuit and they're ordered off the property. They did remove some things. They tried to remove things. They did bring in trucks and try to get things, but this is a city, guys. It'd be like if somebody went into a city of 5,000 people and said, okay, you got 24 hours to get out. I mean, what are you going to do, right? You can only take so much stuff. So I do think they attempted to, but a lot was left behind, a lot. I mean, it's weird. It's like the rapture happened. I mean, we're talking shelves full, closets full, all kinds of things. So I was going to answer who lives there now. They are all former members living there now. They do not consider themselves anymore part of the sect. They consider themselves former members. I asked them, do you still consider yourselves Mormon? And I got mixed answers. These are people that have been very scarred, very damaged, and are very hurt. So it's not a black and white anymore. I think they're figuring out where they're at, and I cannot blame them after what they've been through. Do you honestly think that Serenity was there? Was a common question that I was asked yesterday. I think there's a possibility. And what I would say, guys, is it's like this. They needed fresh blood. They needed new genes. They needed girls. They needed women. They were trying to keep their group alive. And what I know is that Serenity disappeared about 40 minutes from there. It's been a theory that's been looked at. People that have said it's ridiculous. I've had people say this is stupid. It's ridiculous. Here's what I'll say. Her biological family wants it looked into. Her biological family and I have spoken on the phone and have said that they have wondered this since almost the very beginning, that they actually inquired with law enforcement repeatedly about whether or not it was possible that Serenity was there, and they were just kind of poo-pooed and acted like it was kind of silly. So basically, they have said, if you can do some digging on this, we would like you to. So that's part of what motivates me, is that I want to do right by this family who has not had a whole lot done right to them. And so I am going to continue to look into it. Is it a long shot? It may be a long shot. Okay. All right. I normally don't do this, but hello, daughter Zoe. Somebody says, please say hi to my daughter, Zoe. Hi, Zoe. I hope you're having a good evening, and thanks for watching. Okay. So, yes. And somebody just talked about Colorado City. Colorado City is another one of, so that I'm going to jump into that. Where are the people now? Some of them are in Colorado City. Some of them are in Utah. Some have gone to Wyoming. They basically have scattered. The members that are still under Warren Jeffs as the prophet, they have been scattered about all over. Some have, some of the sister wives that have, were married to the same men, are still living together in different places, but they have scattered about. But some of them are still under his control. He does videos from prison telling them his word and what to do and things like that. And so he still is controlling many of these members. But again, I'm going to look into it as long as I can. You guys have to keep in mind as well, the children, the women, and the men were living separate. It would not be difficult to bring a child in and integrate that child in with the other children without anyone going, well, whose kid is this? They weren't raising their own kids, really. Warren Jeffs made sure that everyone was separate. The men and the wives did not sleep together even. The kids were separated. And so you have these disjointed family units that are living in different rooms, different buildings. It wouldn't be hard to just bring somebody in and have people go, oh, okay, it's just another one. Maybe she moved here from Utah. Maybe she was brought up here. You could very easily integrate without a lot of questions being asked. And honestly, I don't think they were allowed to ask a lot of questions. I also wanted to address another question I was asked was people said to me, how do you know that these items are Warren's? Warren wasn't at this compound. So this is my answer. First of all, Warren was sometimes at this compound. These members that are living there knew him well. The man that was mostly showing me around, Warren Jeffs was his teacher, first, second, and third grade when he was a kid. He knew him growing up all his life. And they said Warren did spend time at the compound. It was not his predominant residence. Warren's brother Seth was the one that kept this up mostly. He was the top one that was in Pringle, but Warren did come. He did have a home, a room that I'm going to be showing you guys tonight where he stayed when he was there. He just wasn't there all the time. So I know there's a lot of people speculating. And then under that note, people have said to me, well, why are you referring to it as Warren's? It wasn't really his. It's not really his files. It's not really his stuff. It's all his stuff. He is their prophet. It's all his stuff. I mean, I might not be able to say Warren held this pen, but what I can say is this: if this pen was there, this was Warren's pen, because Warren Jeffs was their prophet, their leader, their God, and the pictures of him on every wall. And so everything was his. Was he there every single day, all the time? No, but they looked at everything they had as his, and everything they made, everything they earned had to be given to him. They were not allowed to make any money and keep it. They were literally completely and totally under Warren's control. So yes, Seth was the leader that was most often there, but at the end of the day, it was the prophet Warren. They call him the prophet. I got different names for him. That was the person in charge. Okay, so let's get into some video, guys, that I'm going to show you. I want to start out with a video that is just to show you guys a little bit about the scope and magnitude of the compound. They had their own infrastructure. So I'm going to show you this. You guys will get to kind of see just a real quick shot of some of the sort of industrial buildings that they had on their compound. I'm going to show it one more time.
We can drive up there and show it to us. Yeah. You want another one?
So what you guys are seeing there is just to get a sense of, they actually had the ability, they had all of their own outbuildings, their own trucks, they could make their own roads. They were, I mean, this is an independent city with even in an industrial area, which is what you just saw, that had chicken coops and had slaughterhouse and all of these things. So when you think of the compound, think about a town. And that's sort of some of the outbuildings that you saw that all helped their town survive and function and do what they did. I now want to get into the tower. So you guys have to keep in mind that they had one road in and one road out. And so they had this tower, this gate on this road. And so there were many stories that were shared with me about people that would run and try to get out and escape. This was gated. They had cameras on the fences. And you're going to see in the video that they were able to see everything. And this was a guard station 24/7 that was manned, watching for people coming in or going out. I suspect more for people trying to go out than trying to come in. Jump to that video. So here's the outside of the video. As you guys can see, it's right near the entrance. I found it interesting. It says Zion above every single door in this entire compound. So that one says Zion as well. Now I'm going to enter the stairs. So you can see it's sort of like a clock tower that you're going up. It's actually quite high. I have a little bit of a fear of heights, so I was looking down and thinking, oh boy. But I wanted to get to the top of this thing. You get to this first level. As you can see, restroom, sort of at a mid-level.
And then there's lights underneath, the lights up.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Gate controls.
And now here is their upper level of their guard tower.
And they can watch people.
Yep.
Someone escaped?
Yeah.
How?
We just try to head out.
See the road in and road out.
How did she escape?
I'll let her tell her story. Brielle. She ran through the snow one time. In fact, there was one
I'm
guy.
going to show you guys some very specific things that were left behind that tell you a little something about the place as well.
Her in the middle of winter.
Oh my gosh.
And she had to hike a mile in the snow. A lot of people don't know about what's in the cave.
You guys can see, if you guys can see here,
This way you can see.
we have binoculars that are left behind, sitting on the counter, and the white buttons that you see are their gates that they controlled, getting people through the door.
There's that red.
I thought this was interesting. Again, it's still in there. They had a system set up so they could notify anybody that was coming or going through a CB radio.
Make a radio on the truck coming.
Oh, they had
Get
these
into a
little codes.
bunker.
So again, what I was mostly told is that this was a 24/7 watched road. Nobody went in or out. If people tried to escape, you would be drugged back. They would put out a warning that somebody had tried to leave. People were trapped here, guys. I mean, this is almost like a penitentiary. And what's interesting, even in the buildings and things like that, you guys are going to see that the buildings and everything, it has a very sterile feeling. It is almost like a prison or like a mental hospital. There is really no warm anything. The only pictures that were allowed to hang on the wall were pictures of Warren, and he had pictures everywhere of himself, and nothing else. So the decor, everything was very, very, very simple. I'm going to jump back over here. Let's see. I'm going to jump into a little bit here about the pictures. I had mentioned in a previous post that the pictures of Warren were everywhere. This is the only other pictures you saw is it says priesthood is paramount. And of course, Mormons follow Joseph Smith. So as you look back, you can see the lineage all the way back to Joseph Smith, with Warren being the prophet, the current prophet. And so this is the only other pictures that you would see on the wall. It'd be a picture of Warren, which some kind of look like glamour shots. They were like really like 80s shots with his jacket. And then you have these that are the lineage pictures. And I'm not kidding you when I say, guys, that there are piles. If you look in this picture, you see underneath the pictures, there are piles of pictures of him. The people that are living there who have had their lives pretty much ruined by him are tired of looking at his picture. There are still some hanging on the wall, but they have started to take them down and stack them up. I went into rooms that had stacks and stacks of his pictures. I would not be surprised if there was not an excess of 1,000 or more pictures of Warren. So they are literally everywhere inside of this building. It was, to me, it's classic narcissist. So much so that even had pictures of him in the restrooms. When you wash your hands at the sink, you'd have Warren's face sitting there looking at you. And so he made sure that he was everywhere. He could never be far from your mind. And I'm certain that that was a way to not only remind you that he is God and the prophet, but as well to remind you that he's watching. He's watching all the time. I had mentioned this on one of my Facebook posts, all of the diapers. I was really looking for evidence of the children, the babies, where they were, what rooms they were in, where they were being kept, and things like that. I found this fascinating, the stockpiles of diapers, the stockpiles of baby clothes. It really gives you a sense that there were a lot of babies there. And no one really knows how many people lived at this compound. Of course, it went up and down like all populations. I have had some people say as many as 1,500, maybe down to as low as 500. I think that it ebbed and flowed. But definitely, you guys, having children to keep the group alive and to really give more babies to Warren was the way that they looked at it, because the women did. They delivered, and their babies were in essence given over right away. I think about the emotional aspect of that as a woman, to give a baby and just right there, you just give the child to somebody. And that's it. No ability to create that bond and that connection and those things. But clearly lots and lots of diapers and items left behind from them. I had somebody say to me, such a shame it's not being used, you know, it should be given away. The people that have won this compound in their legal judgment, they are still technically not in the clear, because the FLDS has something called a right of rescission. That's a legal term, meaning they have so many days to basically appeal this and try to get this property back. That time frame has not yet passed. And so these people, although they are living there and think it's probably going to be theirs to keep, they are still waiting to make sure that there is not going to be a last minute legal move on behalf of Warren and the FLDS that they come back in. And so they are not yet liquidating and getting rid of things. They had shared with me at some point they probably will be, you know, putting on eBay and selling items, because they have all these clothes and all these items there. But until that right of redemption is passed and they know it's theirs and it's theirs to keep. Good question. I just got asked a question that I should have addressed. Thank you for asking. One of the mysteries of this place that I am going back to look at is what happened to the people when they died. Did they bury people on the property? There is no cemetery. There are no gravestones. And yet the people say that when people passed, they didn't take them anywhere. So where are the people that lived and died at this compound? Nobody knows. The members that live there do not know. I think it's a mystery that needs to be solved. It's probably going to take some very serious investigation, maybe somewhere in a file, maybe somewhere in some paperwork, somebody can identify a location that's been identified. But as of right now, the mystery of what happened to the people that lived and died there is unknown. And so that is something that definitely needs to be figured out. This is another example, guys, of me looking for the evidence of the children that were there. This was a closet off a room. It was mostly full of toys and arts and craft type items that make you think of like Sunday school or something like that. And so, you know, I'm trying to figure out, because you're in this town with all these buildings, and the buildings are huge, some of them several stories even, where they kept the children. This area, as you can see, has things that say there were kids near here, around here. And so I'm going to go back and do some looking, but it just tells you, interestingly enough, I have been told they were not allowed to have toys. So you do see in this picture that there are things that look like some building blocks. And again, maybe some craft type items that they were allowed to maybe use to make a picture, probably a picture of Warren that they were allowed to make. But the children were not allowed to have toys. They had no swing sets, no bicycles, nothing like that. I see someone posted these toys were likely confiscated. Yep. So these appear to be items that at one time the children probably used, but the kids were not allowed to play with things. And so when I got there, I actually thought that when I found the area that is the school, that I would see a swing set or a teeter-totter or something. And the member that was walking me around said, oh no, Warren would not have allowed the children to play. If the children had time that was spare time, which they really didn't, then that means they need to be put back to work. They're going to be working in the garden. They're going to be cleaning. They're going to be doing work, because he thought that play was a waste. So you don't see any of that at all. Okay, I'm going to take a segue here over to the side. Was the sleeping area for the children's like a barracks? Yes. Yes, there were large rooms with lots and lots of beds. And so I would describe it as a barracks. And then where the women, there were multiple buildings people were living in, but in many of the buildings, you saw that the women were living in really what looked almost like maybe a hotel room. It was a small bathroom and a room, and all single beds everywhere. There ain't no funny business going on there. All single beds. The women were sleeping on single beds. The men were sleeping on single beds. And so they look like hotel rooms. A couple of the housing buildings I walked through, there was some what you would call like a Jack and Jill, where it was a middle bathroom with a bedroom on both sides that connected through that bathroom, that it looked like, two women would have to share. But most of them were separate rooms that would remind you of a hotel room. You walk in, bathroom on your left, and just a big room with a single bed. And everything pretty much looked the same. Every one of them was the same, with only pictures of Warren. Was there a big kitchen and dining area where they all ate together? Yes. So every large building had a kitchen area that was a large kitchen area and large eating area. So if you think about it, it would almost be like maybe an apartment complex where you would have multiple rooms that women are sleeping in. And then there's a kitchen area that almost had a commercial type feeling, with a dishwasher and big metal sinks that the women would go into and cook and serve the food there. And so it looked like it sort of was happening in smaller within their own housing area. Yes, no adult fun until he got out of prison. What I'm hearing, guys, this stuff is new for me. This is not, I had all these people after I went message me about, have you watched Escaping Polygamy and have you watched all this? No, I really hadn't. I watched TLC Sister Wives, and I have not been a studier or a student of Warren Jeffs and of this. So I am educating myself right now. Many of you have been educating me and sending me articles, which I appreciate. I was told that as long as Warren is in prison, he basically said the marriages are dissolved. There is to be no interactions between the adults. And so all of that has been put on pause until he's out, which we hope never, ever happens, because I don't think he should ever be out. How about you guys? Okay, so I'm going to jump into Warren's personal space. So here's what you guys, I think, are going to find interesting when you look at this. First of all, it looks like a bedroom. It just looks like a bedroom. It's not any different than probably any bedroom I've ever seen. But there were a couple very unique things in the bedroom that made you go, huh, that's a little different. So hold on a second here. Okay, so I'm going to show the outside of they call it the main lodge. This is where Warren's bedroom was. There was also then some of those hotel-like rooms that the women were in, and then one large kitchen area. They call it the main lodge. So one of the larger buildings or largest housing areas on the compound, as you can see, multiple levels. If you walked in it, it would give you a sense that you're in a hotel, just hallways with rooms on both sides, and then one main kitchen area and eating area. So then you go into Warren's own actual room. Something to keep in mind with his room is that, and I kind of think this is interesting. One of the people who was a victim of him is choosing to stay in his room. It kind of gives me a little bit of the creeps, and I don't think I could do it. I'm going to show you guys a video here in a second, kind of panning around the room. But there, as you can see, there is bedding on the bed. You know, there are maybe a couple things sitting around in there, like some water bottles and things like that. This is actually one of the former women that live there that has chosen to stay in Warren's room. So sorry, Warren. All right, I'm going to show you that video now. That was Warren's desk and chair. Almost every single room throughout the house has a separate sink like this. It's not the bathroom, it's just a separate sink inside of the room. So that is just a pan. Yes. Hey, somebody just pointed that out. All throughout is single beds everywhere. Single bed, single bed, single beds. And I didn't think about that. He had a full or a queen. Warren is the prophet gets the big bed, I guess, because nobody else did. I did not think about that. So the woman that is choosing to have this be her quarters while she's living there, God bless her, because I had a dark, heavy feeling throughout the entire place. But when you're in areas that were his areas, it's worse. And so obviously she is able to ward off whatever that is. I personally wouldn't want to stay there. I actually needed to use the restroom, and they said to me, well, you can use his restroom. And I went, no, thanks. I'm going to go use the one down the hallway. I didn't want to go in his bathroom. So I personally had a feeling that I wanted to get out of the room. But a couple of unique things, aside from the fact that, thank you, you pointed out that he had a larger bed, that were interesting. Let's see here. Got to find the right picture. Here we go. So this is the door that takes you in and out of Warren's room. Now, at first glance, you say it's just a door, just looks like a door, but there's actually a couple of things that are very unique about this door. The first is that doors swing towards the wall. When you walk into a room, imagine you're walking into a room, the door is going to swing towards the wall. His door swings the opposite way. His door swings to the open. Well, why? It's like backwards. It almost makes it so when you walk in the room, the door is kind of blocking. That's what he wanted. What they showed me is that he could open the door to his room if someone came to it. And in essence, all you could see was him and then the wall behind him. You could not see into the room because he did not want anyone to be able to see into his room. So he chose on his room in his living area to have the doors put on backwards. Now, something else that's very unique that tells you a lot about him is, do you guys notice that little tiny white, it looks like a piece of cloth along the side of the door? You guys see that? It's very small. You might not notice it at first, the little tiny piece of white cloth. Warren was so private and so paranoid of anyone seeing what went on in his room that in his area, he had a piece of cloth run down the crack on the back side of the door. We're talking the spine of the door, where if the door opens, you might be able to just barely see behind it. You can on his, because he had a custom piece of white cloth run down that. You cannot see in that door. So imagine it opens the wrong way, so you can't see in the room, and behind it, it is completely closed off with that little tiny white piece of cloth that keeps it completely sealed behind. Very strange. Obviously a man that was not wanting anyone seeing anything in his room at all. Next thing I want to show you is this. This is the door. Throughout the compound, in certain areas, you find doors like this. Now, I put my hand up just to try to give you guys a sense of the size of this door. This door is very heavy and very thick, solid wood. I don't know, I'm not a carpenter. I don't know what the average thickness of a door is, but this door is thick. And the members said Warren did not want any sound to escape certain rooms. He purposely would put, like on his own bedroom door, a very, very thick door, as well as reinforce the walls extremely thick. And so that we're talking, they're soundproof in every way. And so this door, if you guys tried to swing this door, you would see that it does not feel like a regular door. It is so heavy that it almost takes two hands to move it because it's so heavy. And so I see somebody ask, didn't he do his dirty stuff elsewhere? I think that there was probably dirty stuff going on in a lot of places. And so can we rule out his own personal room? I don't think we can rule it out. Did it also happen in other places? Yes, because I believe that there were religious ceremonies that were also occurring. And well said, Danette, I agree. No one could hear the screams. The soundproofing that happened in this building, tonight, guys, is my part one. I basically wanted to get into this tonight. I've got so much. There are secret rooms in this compound. And I'm going to show you guys them, and you're going to see the way that they are. you would never hear her scream. But you would never hear her scream in this room either, I promise you. The way this room was built, you would have never have heard a scream there either. Okay, so I'm going to take a left here a little bit and jump back into the Serenity connection, because I know that there are people that are kind of asking about that. Again, my interest in the FLDS compound really sort of started because mostly of Serenity and me just trying to rack my brain on where did this child go? How did this girl just disappear into thin air, which she really did. Missing now, can't believe it. We just had the anniversary, February 3rd, of Serenity disappearing from Rockerville, South Dakota, 9 years old. So it is approximately 40 minutes between the compound and here. I understand that's not in its backyard. I'm not saying it's in its backyard. I'm just saying, where did this child go? And the members that are in litigation with him are absolutely adamant 100% that child trafficking was occurring through the compound. They are adamant of that. This is something that they have heard many reports of. As you guys follow, as this unfolds, I'm going to be showing you guys some rooms that are secret rooms, secret spaces, things like that, that you say to yourself, what was the purpose of this exactly? What does a person need a room like this for? And so my fear has been that Serenity spent time there. Her family wants me to look. My plan moving forward is I am speaking to former members and asking former members if they recognize this child. They came, the kids came and went, the parents came and went, Warren moved them around, they were shifted around. The more he kept people disconnected and they were not allowed to create connections with each other, the more he could control them, because people that are isolated and do not have connection are very easily manipulated and controlled. And so right now, one of the things that I'm working on is to find out if anyone recognizes this little girl's face that was there. But on a side note, there has been something that has lately been dropped on social media that I have to ask a question about, but I want to put it in a context for you guys. The context is this. It has been released on social media in a number of places. According to Brian and Darcy Gentry, that stepmother Cassandra Denard has failed a polygraph test that was given. Here's the problem I have. I have not been able to find anyone that can show me a copy. I cannot validate whether or not this is true. I tried to validate it. I made several calls to people to see if anyone had seen a copy of this, if anyone could validate this as accurate. I have not been able to find anyone that can or can even say that they have seen it. But it has been stated many times. Darcy and Brian Gentry have made calls to biological family members of Serenity to tell them that Cassandra took a polygraph and failed it regarding Serenity. This is jaw-dropping, major news if it's true, but I always try to not share things until I'm able to validate it. I almost did not even go here because I cannot validate it. So I do think that we have to take it with a grain of salt until somebody sees a copy. But it certainly could shed some light on the scenario and maybe would even be able to rule out the idea that the FLDS compound is involved in some way. Just making sure I have not missed anything on my files. Okay, so this is how I'm going to close things up tonight, guys. This is bad. This is over probably all of our heads. But the problem is that it's going to take you and me to probably get anything done. I'm overwhelmed by this. I'm a little fearful. I have already received several messages from people saying, you better watch your back, you better watch out, you better be careful. You don't know who you're messing with. Didn't take long for those kinds of messages to pop in. I understand that this is a potentially huge, huge rock to lift up. Lots of money. I have found out through some poking around regarding the financial state of the FLDS. They are trying to, figure out what financially they have and all of that. But there's hidden money. I've already had one person get a hold of me, and I have turned over that information regarding some hidden money. There's millions of dollars here that's being hidden away. So we're talking about a group of people with a lot of money, a lot of influence. I have been told that they control the police, they control the media in many areas, and that if you take them on, basically you're taking on a very large organization outside of just them. That is a very difficult thing for me to think about for my own personal safety and the safety of my children. But I also would say that this is the kind of thing that, in my opinion, if you know about it and you don't do something, you are also accountable for your lack of inaction. It's not just the people that do it, it's the people that say nothing. It's the people that turn their face and ignore it. And I can tell you that what I saw and what I've already read, I can't ignore it. I'm scared of what I'm going to find, but I can't ignore it. And I believe that there are hundreds of victims of him out there, hundreds. And maybe right now, one of you are watching. Maybe you are watching this video and you know that you were a victim of the Jeffs, whether it be Warren or the other adult men or Warren's brothers. Somebody in the sect abused you or abused your siblings. I want you to know that there is people and groups waiting to help you. I have connected through this time with the proper people and resources that are ready to help you if you are trapped in this or were previously a victim of him. And you deserve justice. You deserve to have the people held accountable. And if I am one piece of that, just the connector, then I will know that I did the right thing. And so just know that there are people out there that care for you. And also know that you don't have to wear a dress to get into heaven. It's really lucky for me, really, really, really lucky for me that God takes screw-ups and imperfect people. Woo! You don't know how lucky it is for me. So if you think you need to wear a dress or have a swoopy hairstyle or do those kinds of things to have God let you into heaven, I want to let you know that it doesn't work that way. God loves you in blue jeans too. But if something terrible has happened to you, please say something to somebody. Please reach out. It doesn't have to be like this. You deserve closure and you deserve healing. And you're one decision away from that. So to the men and the people involved at the upper level that are still free, that are living their life freely, your days are numbered. Because as more victims come out, more will be revealed. And that's how it should be. I will be bringing you guys a part 2. I have lots more video, lots more pictures, but I'm going to close it there tonight. I don't like to go more than about 45 minutes. So I'm going to stop tonight. Thank you guys. I will post on my Facebook page when I will be going live with my next section. If you haven't yet, guys, will you please hit the subscribe button on YouTube? It will notify you of my videos. It's very important you hit that subscribe button. I know, a lot of people don't want to sign up for stuff, but if you could hit subscribe, it would help me out. It helps you to also become notified of anything that I'm doing on YouTube. So please hit the subscribe button and I will keep everyone in the loop soon. Thank you guys so much and have a good evening. Appreciate you all.